Hey, hey, hey. Guys, Fantasy Flight is proud to announce the 5th pack in this new and exciting Kitara cycle for Android Netrunner, which is now available at your local retailer or conveniently on the FFG website. This pack introduces 3 copies of each of 20 new cards spread across every faction, including a new Anarch identity that gives the runner new ways to play and spend virus counters, along with a risky new Jinteki tool that pays economic dividends as it invites the runner to explore their deadly servers.
Yeah, but
sounds exciting.
But do you have the regionals details or no? Like, that's what I'm wondering.
Oh.
If you don't have, I don't know if you.
Actually, I do.
They just did.
I
Yeah.
do.
They just announced that.
No, not everywhere. Just
Sorry.
yeah. Just in America. This is America. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Darn.
All right, fellas. You know what we're here talking about the runner side of this new and exciting pack. I'm really kind of excited for this pack because let me tell you thoughts and feelings off the cuff. I don't feel that this is a very high impact when it comes to the cards, like the actual, not the ID, but I feel that this is very techy. Like this is like going to be the pieces to the puzzle. Are we going to see these cards? Are we not? These are ones that are really crunching your brain as a reviewer's job. You know, these are the ones that make it difficult because I don't really feel that everything is a slam dunk out the pack. I think that it's going to take a little bit of massaging to see these. Some I think we'll see, and some I think that maybe might take a while to catch on. Any other initial impact from you guys?
I would see people trying some stuff, and yeah, I think you're spot on. I think a lot of these cards fit into somewhat new or unexplored archetypes, and I think people are going to be rewarded with a couple of sweet finds.
Agreed. This is one of the rare packs where every single card is worth putting in your deck, except maybe one that we can debate on. Everything else is absolutely, you could roll in and someone could be playing one of these cards in their deck and you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Nothing is like a, whoa, hang on, let's stop and consider how crazy this person is right now.
It's really good we have this also, because I think that when we look at like Netrunner packs over the history of the game, we often would see like, okay, we've got like a couple of cards that work in like a handful of decks, but then the rest of the cards are kind of like a ton of chaff. It's very nice to see a pack that's very like, this lends very well to this archetype in this faction, and this archetype in this faction, or this build in this faction. And I very much agree. I think it's nice that we have a lot of cards that are going to be useful in this pack, and there's arguably very little chaff in this pack.
Well, we'll find out, I guess.
I'm just waiting for some kind of definition there. I have no idea what you're talking about, Hollis.
Chaff.
I feel like we're throw as many buzzwords at this as we can.
Listen, B2B, B2C, I mean...
All right.
Let's start off. So, for those of you who are, missed last week's episode, we have our buddy David joining us. He's really pumped and excited, just basically for the ID. So for as soon as you open this pack and it's staring at you, that's what he is all about. So we're gonna briefly touch on it and explore, but we're not going to get into any kind of deck archetype deep dive stuff. So let's cut to it. Dave, why are you so excited for this Freedom Warrior?
I'm excited. I've been playing a long time, and I remember playing a certain gentleman known as Wizard back
Mm,
before it became the cool thing.
cool wizard.
I
Mm.
was I was on Wizard when nobody else was. The cool thing about Wizard is that he could always trash at least one card in Corp decks at the time, which was a guy that always cost 3 credits. Wizard gave you 3 credits to trash stuff. He could always trash Jackson Howard for free. Well, if Jackson Howard still existed, Freedom Kumalo, who's this guy, could also do that because he gets to trash stuff for free. But instead of getting credits, he uses viruses, which is also really cool. So to me, when they rotated out Noise and they rotated out Wizard, they said, well, we don't really have a guy that just trashes a bunch of stuff and annoys you with viruses. So what if we just took those 2 guys, put them together, and they made Freedom Kamalo?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm super excited about him, because the original 2 Anarchs are basically re-released in the very first cycle post-rotation, and a brand new guy. And he's leading to a whole lot of interesting, completely different deck archetypes. I can just play these like old virus cards that everybody forgot about, and they suddenly make it. So it's like super refreshing to see a completely different spin on a faction that I already really like playing, and you can play completely differently, and you are also adding in a new cool different level of economy because you care about credits and you care about virus tokens. So that's why I'm so excited about him, just because even if I don't play him a whole lot, I'm really excited that we're adding a new level of interesting complexity to a faction.
Mm-hmm. She sure can get a lot of value, and that's definitely pretty impressive. I'm surprised with the number of cards that I run into or that I realize are corp cards that actually have a res or play cost of 0. And Freedom just bumps into those cards and goes, all right, trash it. Piece of ice, operation, asset, upgrade, whatever. It's gone. And yeah, I think David's point is really interesting, that you might go out of your way a little bit from the normal good stuff Anarch deck building to try a couple of these new virus options and classic virus options and really get rewarded for it if you play smart and if you can get your stuff online. And that's where I think the tension is with Freedom, is, at least in first impressions, is that he can get up and running and get really strong and get really scary, but it's that period of time before he gets his pieces that, as a corp, I think you have a pretty good window to try and win out the game, or at least get close to winning before he can get up and running. And that, I think, is the trade-off, right? His weakness. But then he builds up, and then he's really strong. So I'm excited as well.
Hollis?
Well, I mean, I think looking back at Wizard, when Wizard was printed, I don't think they realized the impact fully that he would have on the game based on the way they had designed assets at that time. They said, they looked at basically having a set amount of credits being used to trash that was sort of a set amount of credits that you can use to trash any asset in the game, as sort of being like this very niche like concept in the beginning. Because Wizard came out in, was it What Lies Ahead? Am I incorrect on that one?
Yeah,
because
it was the very first pack. He and Imp came out.
Yeah, so it was so early in the game's lifespan that I don't think that at that point they even knew the impact on like 5 trash costs and 4 trash cost assets would have on the game in the entire lifespan, and effectively making Wizard almost a staple and the primary, Anarch at the time. I feel like this is them trying to basically. I mean, this is them trying to sort of mimic that ability and give you this like additional trash cost benefit that Wizard provided, but also tax it a bit harder, force your deck to make a few harder decisions. And like you said, the initial ramp to be able to get those virus counters are going to be what sort of makes or breaks how good this idea is, because from the start, a lot of corp decks would try to use very high trash assets to gain this early game advantage. And that's also where Freedom also has his weakness. He doesn't have as many viruses out in the beginning to sort of use this effect as heavily as it could. I feel like we're definitely going to see more viruses, and we have seen other viruses recently that make this entire concept look really appetizing, right? Like when we look at the game right now and we look at what's coming out, we can take a look at the existing virus suites and say there is some potential here to where when things get going, when you start having ways to utilize these counters for these tiny incremental advantages and then give you the extra benefit of saying, is that a for trash asset? You know what? Let's toss some viruses to get rid of that. That's a little stern. I don't want you to have that at the beginning of the game or earlier in the game. This feels far more balanced than just giving you the free 3 credits for that. So I really like it. I think that I really like the fact that it just pushes you to make some very interesting deck building decisions on top of giving you this great mechanical benefit. And when we look at all the runners across all factions, that's what we want. We want to have really cool, like, specific deck builds and then these really cool mechanical benefits that tie into that. And this really does that well. It melds it really well together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I am really, really nervous about them printing this card. I really hope that we are not seeing a repeat of I don't want to say mistakes, but a repeat of seeing the game get out of control really quickly. I think Freedom is potentially, and this is, you know, from obviously my minuscule little play and my minuscule little brain turning some stuff out here, but I think that the point where David was talking about, when you introduce another form of economy into the game, that is really, really tricky to balance. And I think I believe I was saying the same things along the lines of when Faust came out. When you're essentially not paying credits, and when you're able to save your credits for things like just doing your installs and things like that, and substitute something else to pay for a action. With Faust, it was getting into servers. And this one here is going to be trashing. Like, already, like, there's cards out there that are, I don't want to say really powerful, but they are potentially impacting cards that don't cost anything to play. They don't have a play cost at all. So right away you're trashing those cards for free. And if we've been on this roller coaster ride since the start of this cycle and the start of rotation, where we're seeing this new suite of virus programs come out, then obviously, you know, I would say that we are now at that tipping point of this roller coaster ride where we have climaxed. Insert joke right there. But what we're seeing, like this is the guy that's supposed to be using all of these new virus programs, all of this new Anarch tech that has been built up to this. So there are a lot of ways that viruses are in the game, and when an ID is tied to something as core a mechanic as viruses and virus tokens, it's just scary for me. Like, I think it's a really cool mechanic, don't get me wrong. I like the way that they're doing this design space, and I hope that we've never seen an ID controlled before, but so I do have faith now, because we've seen more active controls in the game through the most wanted list. So maybe something can come from that if he does get too out of control, or if certain card combinations with him get too out of control. I have full faith that they'll make an adjustment, but I believe that this has the potential to be something that is going to be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And very, very, very disruptive. It's definitely going to take full full use of that disruptive anarchist style of play.
And the good thing about it being virus token controlled is virus tokens can be, like from the very beginning of the game, it's on the original actions you can do as a corp. You can always get rid of them. If he's got like 20 virus tokens, hell, may as well get rid of them and make him reset. So you can lock him out for like a turn or two if he goes full on into the virus way of thinking, but maybe he's okay with that. Maybe you build the deck thinking that you're going to get 1 or 2 purge turns where you can just build.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be more of a handicap too, right? Like because the virus is doing the double duty, it's doing whatever its virus intention is,
right?
And it's also using this ID ability. But if you're just relying on this ID ability, then maybe you might have credits stockpiled up to still be able to do stuff, but you're not going to be able to trash those cards that even if it can't normally be trashed. And I think that's where the power of him is going to obviously see some incredible play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fortunately, like David said, there are ways to counteract this economy. Multiple ways. And I'm also curious to see if this has any effect on corp deck building. I know we talked about something similar about this with Scorpios back in the day, but just a new interesting ID comes out, and as a corp, I wonder if people start looking at all the 0 res cost, 0 play cost cards in their deck and start going like, is this vulnerable to freedom? And if freedom is really ruling the metagame, do you like up the cost of, do you go from Wall of Static to Bastion? These sort of things. I don't know. I'm curious. Like maybe it increases the average cost of corp cards just so that people can get around this more. It's interesting.
I think they're really definitely going to have to keep that into account. Especially like let's look at some of the swings that you can pull, right? Like I can kill a pad campaign for 2 credits, or sorry, for 2 virus tokens now instead of 4 credits. That's pretty insane, right?
I think Jeeves is even bigger. I've been seeing a lot of Jeeves recently, and like that is such value to just pop off Jeeves.
Or a daily business show.
Daily business show for 2 virus tokens. That's good. Yeah.
Killing a Jeeves is definitely going to put you.
Or how does this interact with the Mombad virtual tour, right? Because that's a 0 res, right? Yeah. So you hit a Mombad virtual tour, it says, hey, you got to trash it, and Freedom says, cool, I will. 0.
Yeah.
Done. So, yeah. Really, really neat. I think this will be one for us to brew on a little bit and come back in a couple weeks and chat about some of the decks. I've already started to see a few, and there's some really interesting directions that people are going. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, should be interesting. Definitely one to keep your eye on, for sure. And you know what, though, is weird too, and I will say this is the last point. I think it's very interesting because he is not even going to be as strong as the the virus cards. It's just going to be about like you can have a garbage card that basically it just quickly produces viruses, and that's just going to create synergy. You know, like. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, like this would be one that if it was still around, you'd be wanting to you'd be surging everything. But
man, wouldn't it be crazy if they printed a card that was kind of like Surge? I mean,
that was kind of like weird. What?
Yeah.
Surge.
And then in closing remarks, in from myself, unless you guys have a comment on it, it will be interesting to see though if he can definitely take the top spot right now, because I think we're still seeing other Anarchs as really, really strong plays right now still. The force that Valencia is hitting with these days is still very viable and is still very scary.
Yep.
Yeah. The key to evaluating freedom will be figuring out the actual value of a virus token versus a credit in freedom. And if we can come up with like a good number to figure out what that is, like how much is a virus token worth in a freedom deck versus a credit, then we'll be able to evaluate them a whole lot better. So.
Perfect.
Word.
Sorry, I was just gonna add. I feel like freedom also begins to falter a bit when you start looking at like if the prevalence of Glacier becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that freedom also begins to falter a bit more, because the benefit for freedom is very much, okay, you have this sort of interesting mid-range where the ice, you get the combo of getting rid of assets, but you can also kind of get rid of ice, and that's cool. But if the ice is big, if it's 8 as a res cost, 10 as a res cost, 12 as a res cost, I don't see you losing 8 virus tokens. Like that just doesn't seem a part of what you would normally be able to do in that kit consistently enough to be worth it. That doesn't mean that getting rid of assets isn't already good by itself, but I imagine that for the vast majority of freedom players, yeah, the prospect of being able to get rid of ice is awesome, including 0 strength ice, right?
Yeah.
So like when you look at Glacier decks, it's almost like this ability is sort of built to kind of already push you in a direction. So okay, is freedom a prominent like deck archetype? Okay, maybe Glaciers should be played more often because you have more resilience against the freedom decks. Less ice gets trashed. True. I don't know. To me, that's also really interesting. But whatever. Sorry.
If you happen to access the ice, my feeling is like,
if you do,
as a freedom player, you're more likely hunting for assets and operations, and if you happen to access a piece of ice from HQ or R&D and you have the virus, maybe you think about it, but I think most of the time he's going for other stuff.
Do you think if you play against freedom, you're second guessing all your 0 strength ice that you've included, the 0 and 1, 2 strength ice?
Well, he's looking at the res cost, and that's only when he accesses it. So,
but it's value. It's straight up added value. Like if you have a,
you know what I think that it boils down to with playing against him is all going to be about tempo, and those, even though you're creating targets for yourself, if you can still be faster than what he's generating and building up his economy is. Yeah, you might lose pieces here and there, but I mean, at the end of the day, he still has to be set up. He's still spending a turn to make that run in. So he's got to be doing something, right? So the speed at which the corporation can operate these days is still really fast. So I think it's all going to depend on the tempo that the corporation sets out.
Agreed.
All right, ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's talk about some of these virus cards that Freedom Deck might think about including. I don't know, maybe.
You mean I think the ongoing theme here, starting with this card, is just basically going to be like, think old cards with new art. Let's go.
All right, well, let's talk about this first one. It is Trapano, virus, 2 install, 1 memory, 3 influence, and you can install it only on a piece of ice. Important to note, doesn't say resed or unresed, any piece. When Trapano has 5 or more virus counters on it, trash, host ice.
Oh my god.
And when your turn begins, you may place 1 virus counter on.
Man, this sounds familiar, Alec. Like,
yeah.
What is this? What did this? I can't remember, man.
I don't know. David, you got a bug on you. You got a bug on you. You got a bug.
Oh, geez. Is it like a
parasite? Shoot. Oh, no. Parasite. PTSD.
Yeah,
It's back. It's back.
Yeah, so Trapano is just Parasite.
Cleaned up.
Keeping score.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think
That's
about
me.
these two cards, I think about something in like NBA basketball where you don't compare different players from different eras. So like I could say like Hollis might say, yeah, Michael Jordan's the best player ever, or as I might say, LeBron James is better. Just as an example.
Yeah,
I would be right, but just as an example, right? You don't compare eras because Parasite's just better.
right.
So, if you're gonna be thinking that you're gonna get the Parasite value out of Trapano, you're gonna be constantly disappointed. So stop thinking about Parasite. Just forget it exists. It's not in the game anymore, so you don't have to worry about it. Just evaluate Trapano for being Trapano. It is not Parasite. Please don't compare it to it because it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they are pretty much the exact same card.
It's a big difference, though. You know, all of the synergies that Parasite had, all of the ways that you could cheat it out, and the way that it scaled with different pieces of ice, so it punished the low stuff, allowed you to get past some nasty stuff pretty quickly. That waiting around for 5 virus tokens, it takes a long time. And unless you have a way of speeding it up, which we'll talk about some of those, but there aren't too many ways to cheat it. And so it's going to serve a different function. Serve a different type of deck. So I don't think we're going to see it in every Anarch deck, but the ones that do have those synergies already built into their deck, I think are rewarded pretty heartily with this card.
Yeah, so a really good thing about it is that when you're playing Freedom and you're playing Trapano, if you're playing Freedom, you probably already have the other things that help this card be good, like the Nod Curies to add more counters to it, the Hive Minds to make sure that this counts its counters towards the other one, and Freedom's favorite card, the Virus Breeding Ground, so you can just click to kill ice. So you're probably already playing those cards anyway to boost it. So, I mean, if you can kill 1 or 2 ice in a game, it's not like the old days where you just, nuke 10 ice a game and everything was cool. You're probably only going to take out very systematically 1 or 2 pieces of ice. But if you do that, that's going to help open up a server and make it ultimately cheaper for you. It doesn't matter who you are. So,
yeah.
Hollis, do you have anything?
Just that I feel like this is a clear, when Parasite was on the chopping block. I remember discussing Parasite when there were rumors about Core 2, and people were like, is it coming, is it not coming, is it really going to happen? During that phase, I remember people discussing Parasite's out, I'm pretty sure Parasite's got to go. But even then, I think everyone that discussed Parasite at the time was like, yeah, but it should though. Because for a lot of look at some of the cards we look at now where oh goodness, the Eula card, goodness gracious, the 6 res cost 0 strength, 6 sub. I love that card design. It's very cool. I feel like that's a card that NBN needs. It's a card that we want to see in the game. Not playable when Parasite exists. You cannot play it. And so in general, Parasite being gone gives room for these cards to flourish and opens design space up for them. And the replacement here, Trapano, I feel as a corp, if you trash my ice, resed or unresed with Trapano, I'm actually way more relaxed about it. I feel like it makes me feel like this was a more fair way, more fun way to play the game. Because there had to be some time, or there had to be some series of investment. I still had a bit more time if I wanted to purge. Which, for the runner side, is interesting because it means that you actually took time away from me because I had to purge for that round. And I just like that. I like that it's more of a back and forth as opposed to how Parasite was being used, which is sort of this blitzy, I run, here's 3 virus tokens, immediately dead. 2 virus tokens, immediately dead. This is cool. I'm happy that this is in the game to replace it. And I think Mr. Weeks, I think David had the right choice. I really feel like if you're going to use Trapano, you're probably already going to be using Virus Breeding Grounds, which is going to combo with it really well. You're going to straight up take your clicks, and you're going to invest them into killing ice. And I think that's also fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, yeah.
That's a great point, Hollis. And I totally love your callback to how Parasite used to be, because I feel exactly the same way. So in a way, this card is almost nostalgic to strong memories of a Parasite going down on a res toll booth and me going, oh shoot, I've got 5 turns before this is destroyed, so maybe I need to take a purge turn somewhere in here, but there's a ticking clock, and it's like, all right, in 5 turns, I gotta find some way to deal with this. And that's what this card is offering again, is that feeling of, all right, it's coming, you know, purge or deal with it or whatever, but it's coming. And that is such nice interplay.
5 minutes.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it's totally like old school feeling.
I think this is one for me that goes in the book as you know, when we had eventually talk to whatever name he's going by now, a Snoop Boggy Boggs or something like that. But it's be interesting to see why they chose to bring this mechanic back and how they decided to apply balance changes to it. Obviously, we see the influence go up, and we just see it basically be that a clock mechanic now, right? Instead, and that's all it's doing. Where you know, Parasite was obviously doing more, where it was clock mechanicking, but what it was also doing was interacting with the card that it was on while that was ticking down, right? Like it was lowering the strength. And then if there was ways to speed it up, you just accelerate the strength down and then it would die. This card here is really interesting. It's interesting how they've come to decide on the 5-turn value of it. And I wonder how much, you know, by itself. Parasite is a card that, you know, that stood its ground by itself, because at the time in the meta you didn't really need anything else. There was cards that you could just, boom, I'm going to Parasite this out and it was gone. You didn't have to play all the trickery to help accelerate it. But that was just like, you know, David said, a time and a place. But with this card here, I feel, as in conjunction to what I was saying before, with the ID, that the game moves so much quicker now, and 5 turns is almost an eternity, and 5 turns could potentially be a game. Like, so that's crazy. I don't know how much this card is going to see play. On the awesomest scale, I would probably just rate it a nice. But I mean, it's still that Parasite mechanic. Anybody old school is going to be experimenting with this, so I imagine that the graph is going to be, you know, like huge amount of play, and then it will teeter off. But the other side of it is, if you're already buying into this whole virus suite that is Freedom, what this card does for you is put it on any piece of ice out there, and you're getting essentially economy growth by a virus credit a turn. I mean, even if they're going to wipe on their turn, hopefully you've already played and or done something with your tokens, but next turn you're just going to automatically get one back anyway. So it's just going to play into his ID, his mechanic. So you're already seeing support in the pack for it, even though it was already there.
Just tiny addition, something that really something that kind of highlights the disparity and as far as like power level between Parasite and Trapano was also knowing that Trapano doesn't actively reduce the ice it's attached to strength as it gains those virus tokens. And when you start to think about it, that's a significant aspect of what made Parasite so ridiculous, is that knowing you could have like a 5, 6, 7 strength sentry and then have a mimic out and just say, you know what, I don't even need to kill you. I just need to lower your strength enough to where this very cheap breaker gets by you at a very low cost. And then the same resources that let me lower your strength, I regain back because I made a successful run on a central, right? The combo of Data Sucker and Parasite, which is insane because that's what the game allowed you to do. Is it basically allowed you to run and basically gain credits as a part of the run. So Trapano doesn't gain you the same credit benefit that the combo of Data Sucker and Parasite gained, which is a huge change. Trapano will do what it's supposed to do, but there's no passive effect until it gets to that critical mass of virus tokens necessary.
It's pretty different.
Yeah. Anything else on this one, fellas?
I think you got it.
All right, moving.
Sweet. Well, let's talk about a card you may want to consider including in a deck with Trapano.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. It's Contaminate. Oh, what is this? 1 cost, 1 influence. Place 3 virus counters on an installed runner card with no hosted virus counters. Oh, dang. Did I just install a Trapano? Contaminate. Did I just install a turtle? Contaminate. Did I just use my last imp counter? Oh, contaminate. Like, those 3 synergies alone for the right kind of deck that's already running those pretty powerful cards, it's like, okay. Yeah. Seems good.
And it also takes you from 0 to at least 1 virus token, so virus breeding grounds can put more on there.
Value.
So Contaminate is good if you have the cards in your deck for it. It's not for every deck. It might not even always be for a Trapano deck. But there are a couple interesting synergies in my David's Fun Zone decks that we're going to talk about. If you want to play bad cards all together to get a somewhat good strategy, definitely Hive Mind is good, but it's not really a bad card. If you can find a way to spend this 1 counter on it, like use it as an imp counter or cash out, or use a cash to like clear the last counter off it, then you can take it from 1 to 3 and still get the benefit from the counter on it. So that's pretty cool. But the 2 that I'm most interested in is you go from 0 to midnight on a what even is this? On a Chakana.
No, dang.
Ooh. Yeah, corpse really fast. How would you like to have everything cost 1 more advancement counter?
Holy crap. Back David.
I don't even need to clot you. You're stuck.
David, you were way back in the archives for that card.
Boom.
Wow.
I forgot it existed. It's in creation and control. It stayed.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right there. Yeah. Forgot it
Amazing.
existed. Yeah, I was building the deck and it came up and I'm like, why is that on there? That shouldn't be on there.
Amazing.
But my favorite, which is something that
You have something better than that last one?
yes.
I feel like this is like the worst like 11 o'clock infomercial ever. Like,
are you ready?
like there's more? There's more?
There is more. How would you like to mill 3 cards no matter what, whenever you want to, if you have a Gravedigger?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, you got a Gravedigger on the board. Maybe you're Freedom. You're running, you're trashing a bunch of assets. Oh, what? Are you a control deck that also has mill in it? Oh, man, but you don't have any counters. What are you going to do? How are you going to get them counters? How are you going to get them counters?
I'll tell you what I will do. I'm probably going to use Contaminate and get them through counters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you act now, what will you throw in?
3 more counters after I use
more counters.
I like it.
That'll be
I like it.
4 payments of $29.95.
Yeah, 3 easy,
18 years or older to start order.
3 easy
So, yeah.
installments.
This is kind of a Johnny Funzone card, really, but there's some really interesting, like, you know what? I got 40 solid cards that I know is going to be a good deck. I got 5 cards left. Maybe I'll throw in a Chakana and a Gravedigger and a couple Contaminate, see what happens. You know, maybe that'll be something that I can slow the corp down enough by doing that, by acting crazy, and I can get some wins. So yeah, I'm really excited for this card. I'm glad that it replaced Surge, because you can do whatever you want with this. Where Surge, you had to kind of play around to actually get the benefit for. So I'm super amped about this. And yeah, or you can just play with Amakua and be cool, and it just reset your Amakua faster. Which is probably the better way to do it if you're no fun at all. So,
So here's my critical question for you, Mr. Funzone.
Okay.
Two questions. One, in a normal anarchy, you got a couple cool viruses, like maybe some of the ones you mentioned. How many contaminates are you running? Second question, it's only one influence. Does it ever see play outside of Anarch? Those are your double headers.
Well,
You stole my influence.
You spin that one influence, baby. No, you don't play Professor. Don't do that. I think that in a deck where you have Amakua and you maybe have an Imp that you want to reset and some Trepanos, I think you play 2. I think if you're going to make cuts, you should cut your Dirty Laundries first and then cut your Contaminates.
Why? Because Dirty Laundry's a bad card?
Dirty Laundry's a bad card. Don't play it. Different subject. So I would play 2. If you're not, like, if you're just using it to reset Amakua, just play 1. Because if you get it, cool. If you don't get it, whatever. You're already playing Amakua. You know what's going to happen when they purge. But it's at least a 1-of in a virus deck. If you want to play around with the synergy some more with the Chicana lock, you play 2.
Makes sense to me.
Is that a thing yet?
I haven't
Chicana lock?
did it. I'm sure somebody else has already thought of it first.
We're breaking the meta right now.
Yeah.
No,
we all have the exact same cards, guys. You could do it too.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say no, but no, this is this is why we paid you the big bucks to come on.
That's
and to
$8
and to do your homework, to have all those cards ready to pull out.
Yeah.
I will tell you. So Alec did, touched on the influence there, but I will say that scares me. And I don't want to be again like this is not going to be a theme of Chris is going to be Captain Negative going through this stuff, but we've seen some powerful viruses show up here and there in Criminal, and being 1 influence, this card is very splashable, and 3 counters on something is definitely very able to swing the meter. I think though that I will probably eat my words somewhere down the road, because this is definitely a card that I think when I have a table full of cards and I'm building a deck, for those people that still build it that old-fashioned way, that they have to look at everything and not just go onto Netrunner DB. When you put your stuff together, I feel like this might be the one that I find myself cutting. I'm not really feeling it as a standout piece. Like I said at the beginning, I feel that this is a very deck buildery pack of cards. So I probably only rate it like 2 out of 4 squirrels right now, but I feel that this is one of the ones that's going to come back and bite me. Like I will probably lose more games to somebody using Contaminate than probably any other card. Like this, it's just going to be one of those ones. Again, tempo is the buzzword. That this card is just going to be like, oh yeah, I've got my next turn planned out, and all of a sudden they're like, Contaminate something. It rejuvenates. Alec, you touched the big one. I think the Turtle and Imp are huge uses of this, and it's just going to be catch you off guard. Tempo swing and commence steamroll.
Well said.
Moving.
I got nothing to add. You guys killed it.
All right.
Killed it on Contaminate.
Awesome.
Or hockey.
I don't want to say that we guys. I think David MVP'd that.
Hey, killed it. Great job.
Sweet. So, all you virus brewers out there, you've got some new tools to play with. Go forth, infect all the things, and yeah, we'll see what they come up with. Shall we head to criminal?
We shall.
With Embezzle. This is a 1-cost event run sabotage, 3 influence. Okay. Make a run on HQ. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If successful, instead of accessing cards, name, asset, ice, operation, or upgrade, then reveal 2 cards from HQ at random. Trash each revealed card that has the name type, then gain 4 credits for each card trashed this way. Man,
that's very convoluted. Like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you. Any other time, someone will know you're running this card, because I felt like it would be bigger than any other card in your hand. Like, it's like if I was playing the game right now, that text is so long, like that would be the embezzled card, because it's like a full. It had to be printed on like one of those tarot cards.
It has a signature line at the bottom for both players to be like, do you understand how this card works?
Yeah.
Side. Got it. Yeah, it's doing a lot. And the crazy thing is that if this whiffs, it's kind of a bummer, because you've paid a credit and not really done anything. But if this hits twice and you hit 2 somewhat relevant cards and gain 8 credits and trash 2 cards, just the margins on this, like, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great, but if it hits, oh man.
You know what? I really feel like they're really coming to balance the type of player that I am with cards like this. So when I am agenda flooded, you name anything you want there, because obviously you can't name agenda, and you pick as many agendas as you want from my hand, and this card is not triggering. So,
right. So it's tough to make that call randomly, and I think, like RNG key we saw earlier this cycle, if you're running synergies with this, then sure. But if you're not running anything that's synergistic, I don't know if you just throw this in any old criminal deck. I think this is a hard call.
Yeah. Embezzle is just wanton destruction and legwork had a baby, but they're not seeing each other anymore, and it's kind of awkward. And legwork gets it on the weekend, and wanton destruction has it during the weekdays, and they can't really agree on how they want to raise the kid. And it's awkward, and there are like court dates and everything like that. It's really strange.
Wow.
But it's basically those 2 cards combined together. The synergies are actually not that crazy.
I'm so excited.
Here we go. First one, corporate defector.
Aha.
If the corp is drawing cards and spending clicks to draw cards, like there are one to do if they're trying to get out of some kind of jam they're in, or just advance their game much faster, you're going to have a way better idea of what's in their hand. With old Mr. Corporate Defector, maybe in a Geist deck, you throw this it's like one or two of this guy in. It powers up your connection rig. But the best synergy is Leela.
Yeah. My favorite card.
Leela almost guarantees she knows at least what one card in HQ is after she gets a bounce using her ability. So you bounce a card back to HQ using Leela. Next turn you embezzle, you name that card's type, and you can probably trash it out of their hand and make some money.
No Find the Truth synergy yet?
No.
Wow.
I
do like that.
I'm not crazy.
I think Find the Truth synergy, that's actually a great point as well. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, that could work too. The problem is that it's 3 influence, so I don't really want to I would not pay 3 influence to take this somewhere else. But if I'm in criminal already, sure, I'll play one of these. Maybe I'll hit on it. Maybe I won't. But I'm making HQ pressure anyway, so may as well try it.
I see this card for me right now. I would definitely have to say that this is the Neptune on the planet scale, or the Pluto. This is definitely Pluto right now because what I think is that some people are going to call it good, and some people are going to call it bad. But I don't think there's ever a way to fully justify it, because it's only going to be good when it hits. It's like push your luck.
Yeah, it's kind of like push your luck.
Right. If you were ever able to play push your luck and you just racked in like mega bucks, you're probably like, this is the best card. But when any other time you were playing push your luck and it didn't do anything for you, it was pure garbage. I don't see this card being worth the gamble. And I think the influence has costed it out of play anywhere else.
So you wouldn't say that it's a sure gamble?
No, sir.
I'm dead.
Sir.
I'm dead. I don't even know. I'm
Not
tapping
everybody.
out. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping.
Yep. I agree. It's tough.
Yeah.
Chiming in, I feel like David and Jameson went into enough detail, and I'm with Alec. I very much agree. I think that the synergies are there, but the card feels niche to work and give you the greatest benefit possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I think the average player, the majority of players, are going to look at it and go, is it really worth the effort to game this card to give the greatest benefit, when I could just not? I could save the card slots and just play just some fairly average to better than average based economy and not try to get this huge, gigantic information plus economic advantage from a card combo.
Yeah, when you're playing a card game so there's two kinds of styles here. If you're playing for fun, I mean, hey, if we're gonna go meet up for coffees or drinks and we're gonna play some Netrunner, I might throw this in a deck, and if I hit it, we're all gonna laugh and have good times and cheers and say, yeah, look at that. But when you're playing at a competitive level, what you want to do is because it's the card game, you already have X amount of randomness built into a card game to start with, and when you're playing high stakes Netrunner, you're trying to control the randomness, and this is just too much thrown in on it. So to be able to pull it off, I think it does have its moments when you're playing it with all of those other cards that are exposing information while they're drawing it in and stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to see play at that level.
I will say it is offering something really interesting out of Criminal, and that's trashing of cards out of HQ, which is not an effect we see often, if really ever. And in that sense, I wonder if there is a way in which you expect Corps to be holding a lot of, say, really powerful operations, like a hard-hitting news or boom or Hunter Seeker Audacity or whatever, that they're just hanging out with these operations in hand. And if that's the most prominent set of Corp archetypes of what's likely to be in HQ, maybe you put one of these in your deck and you actually have a meaningful impact on the game, trashing key Corp cards out of their hand and making a little money on the side.
Yeah.
I don't think that's totally crazy. I think they're,
Yeah. I think one
consideration.
I think one of those was definitely an add-on. If it was randomly pick 2 cards, name the type, and gain 4 for each one you guessed right, maybe somebody said, you know what, that's not really enough. How about if you trash those cards as well? And then they're like, oh yeah, perfect. Or maybe it was name the cards and trash them, and then someone said, well, what if you also gain 4? It's like adding stuff to a bill in the Senate.
But crazy, like, if you're a criminal and you're at a credit differential, you run in, you trash a hard-hitting news, you gain 4 credits. Like, I'm not sad. I'd trash a hard-hitting news that way, easy.
Yeah,
Seems good to me.
I just think there's a lot. Like, obviously, in criminal, you're
Right.
running HQ anyway. So I feel like people are already icing that up a little thicker. This is just going to be another reason to protect your HQ, and then the sense of randomness is just.
Yeah. But 2 more things I'll say in its favor. If you're playing Turning Wheel and you just want to build up your Turning Wheel and you want really to not access agenda, so you know to do like a big R&D run later, this would be a good card for that. So you can clear out stuff that will help them advance their board state. So like if you don't want any more ice, you name ice. If you don't want operations against like a Titan deck or any kind of HP, you can go in there and you can trash the biotic labors or any of the world or the hedge funds or the IPOs they're saving up for. So yeah, it could be good there, or you just really want to slow them down, because we keep talking about how fast corps are. This is a card that could offer you the chance to slow them down. A legwork isn't always going to slow them down if they don't have any agendas.
Yeah.
But an embezzle could potentially slow them down.
Yep.
There's this risk reward. So.
Not my
All right.
not my cup of tea. But let's move it.
All right, criminals. Maybe you'll get something better in the next card. Oh boy.
I tell you,
I'm so excited.
Criminal
I'm
needs.
thinking about the
criminal
video
needs
of the
something,
guy
man.
throwing these in the trash.
Here we go. Slipstream.
Ariel.
Hey, you like mermaids? It's a 0-cost virtual resource. And it says whenever you pass a rezzed piece of ice, you may trash Slipstream. If you do, choose a piece of ice protecting a central server in the same position as the passed ice. You're now approaching that ice.
This again.
Okay.
All
right.
Can anyone tell me where the value is? Because I'm not seeing it.
There is
And that
very little
at that
cards.
point says a lot, because Alex the kind of guy that will find the good in anything. And if he can't see it, in this,
I'm struggling.
I'm not even helping you, man.
I'm struggling with this card.
I will admit, when I was laying out my cards, it took me the most time to find the synergy for Slipstream. But I have 2 cards that if you're willing to go on a little journey with me,
wow,
you could potentially play this card.
Oh boy.
And you'll want 3.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. You know what, David? You've not done me wrong. I kind of trust you. Go ahead and hit me.
You know what? Here we go. Here we go.
Hit me with it, man.
Let's say you're playing a criminal deck, and there's a deck that's been going around that is actually not that bad, and you want to play Apocalypse.
Okay.
All right, hang on now. I hope I'm not skipping right now. It says I have poor network connection, but all right. If you are playing an Apocalypse deck and you're already playing criminal, what corps are likely to do is heavily ice one server to make sure that you can't get in there. Right? Maybe it's HQ, maybe it's R&D. You run your archives, you run your R&D, then you run your R&D again, and you slip past all the ice that's on HQ. Say they have 3 pieces of ice. You slip past all the ice that's on HQ, and you only have to interact with the back one. Then you play Apocalypse. That's why you'd want Slipstream.
Okay.
All right. The second one, hold on to your hats.
Okay, I'm listening.
The
Hats on.
second one, you're gonna have to do this in Anarch, and again, this took me a minute to find. EMP device.
Gotta squint on that one.
Let me read what EMP device does, because I don't think you know what it does.
I don't.
It costs 1. It's 4 influence. It's a hardware that's a bomb. It's a bomb card.
Oh
You
shoot.
can trash it. The corp cannot res more than 1 piece of ice for the remainder of this run. Use only during a run. So I'm going to run R&D. Maybe you res a piece of ice. oh sweet, I'll go ahead and pop this. I'll get my art, and I can swing over to HQ where maybe you haven't rezzed your ice yet, and boom, now I'm in HQ. I bypass all the ice. You can't res the piece of ice that I'm now approaching, and I'm in HQ. That's all I got. I tried so hard for this card.
I was gonna say, did anyone ever tell you that you're doing too much? I just feel like at some point during that search, somebody should have called you on your phone, and they should have been like, "I'd like to report a crime. Like he's trying to make this work, and I really feel."
So there's a meme that's like that's like the guy that's like, "Why though?"
But why though? Yeah, but why though?
That's kind of where I'm at with Slipstream. Like, yeah, you can do all that. I'm really glad you put all that energy into it, but why would you do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried. If you want to make a fun deck that does those things, go for it. But you'll probably be like I did and be like grumpy, and your beard grows more gray hair in it because you spent time thinking about how good Slipstream is. So don't do it.
The fact that this card made me look back favorably on Copycat says something about the level of card we're talking about. At least Copycat got you past the piece of ice that you jumped over to.
Man, that's like thinking about a bad relationship you had in the past. You're like, you know what? At least you didn't hit me.
Oh no.
It's not great.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
I don't even have a weird analogy for this card because I don't think that it's I can't even give it the time of day. I am so disappointed in what criminals are bringing to the table here that it is leaving me speechless. Congratulations. If anybody out there actually takes any of the stuff that David said and turns it into something playable.
Yep.
The person who wins Worlds next year, you're welcome for turning you on to Slipstream.
There you go.
In whatever universe you exist in, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yes.
All right. Let's head into Shapers. Maybe they're going to be a little more lucky here. This is Lamb, a program icebreaker fractor, 4 cost, 2 MU, 2 strength, 2 influence. Nice. And when you encounter a piece of ice, you may pay 2 credits to have it gain barrier until the end of the encounter. Use this ability only once per run. 2 credits, break any number of barrier subroutines. 3 credits, plus 6 strength. Well, damn. You want to break some barriers? And also, once a turn, not barrier? Lamb's got you covered. This card is it's pretty strong. I've seen it a fair bit recently, and if you've got enough econ to fuel it, which of course is its downside, it'll get in, and that's pretty scary.
This card definitely plays back to how I used to play when I played a Shaper starting out. So this is throwback Shaper to me. This is a call to the days of big breakers, where you take the heaviest, beefiest breaker set you can. Cards like this, it's going to cost you something, but if you can bankroll stuff and you can build up an economy engine, you have servers for days that you will just own, because something like this card with the right money is basically the corporation. Whatever they do, they are not keeping you out. And so classic old school Shaper card. I really like seeing cards like this in the game, because I think especially something like this, I do think that it is balanced very well. Usually these high big breakers, you really have to play this game with not only balancing economy, but also the memory on a suite. But Shaper does have the tricks, and they do have the tools to get more memory to do stuff. Remember Big Breaker Chaos Theory back in the day? You know, so it's not impossible. I am surprised to see something like this because it goes against that style where, you know, maybe you had to import a good breaker in. I thought that when we kept Morningstar, we'd see more use for it. It would be more dominant in maybe some splashable stuff coming as we were moving to bigger breakers, but something like this is obviously going to answer anything that can come across in Shaper. You definitely worth a try. I enjoy it.
Yep.
And here's the funny thing. Where I've been seeing this show up the most recently isn't even in Shaper. I've been seeing this the most in Anarch decks. Not only are there other synergies, but just the raw power of building up bad publicity from cards like Mining Accident makes this a way more attractive looking.
Yeah, and that's
it's so good.
I fully agree, Alec. You know, you finished. It's almost like we're so in sync. We're finishing each other's sentences.
Wow.
Because that's because that's what I kind of meant. Where I was like hoping to see more Morningstar used and stuff like that. But obviously, this one has replaced it, right? Like it's the go-to right now. If you're looking for a big style breaker,
that's flexible.
I mean, you can still use it with Morningstar. You can make any ice that's 5 or less strength. You lam it into a barrier, then you Morningstar, and it only costs you 3 credits.
But that can't possibly be the craziest combo you've thought of for this card.
I was just gonna say I'm so let down if that's where you just went.
This one, I will go ahead and give credit. If you have not ever checked out Ben Nee's channel on YouTube, little type right here. I think his name is Biokin or what. I can't pronounce his name. He does a very good job of analyzing cards that come out, and then he'll play a game and then do an analysis afterwards. But he has a deck that is using Lam, which is, I looked it up, it's like some form of African wrestling. I think it is. That's why it's got like the wrestling arm on it. Cool. And what his deck is using is it's using only 2 breakers, and he's using Lam and Yusef.
Oh shoot!
So you make it a barrier, and you break it for free with your Freedom deck because you've got a bunch of virus counters, and you break it with Yusef. So definitely check that out if you see this deck up there. It's something where he's like talking about Freedom Kamalo. Definitely check that out. Great video where he discusses the synergy between these 2 cards. Super interesting. But the basic combo is you Lam all the barriers. Then everything else you turn into a barrier and you break with your Yusef. And you just do that over and over and over again. And you end up being able to break and run pretty much every single turn. It basically replaces Lady in dedicated decks where you don't want to play Scavenge or 2 ladies to reset them. You just play a Lam and you deal with it. So it's a cool alternative to the Lady Inti builds that we normally see. You just play 1 breaker and you cover both of those issues. It's good in Haley decks or Bios decks where you got a whole bunch of Deg Deers. It's 2 MU, so you can host it on a Deg Deer and get your deep data mining stuff built up. It's good with our old friend who made it back to the core set. Holler out at Jameson for our Dinosaurus.
Oh shoot!
One of the weaknesses of it is actually 3 strength barriers are super annoying because you have to pump it and break it. Not with our friend Dinosaurus. He's gonna host it and like put a little smiley face screen out for us because he's really happy that he's getting played.
How nice!
It's great in Quetzal decks. Any 1 sub cards can be broken for free with Quetzal. And then the super crazy jump off the deep end card. You ready? You know what it is?
I have two ideas of what it could be.
You have two ideas of what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm loving the surfer, and I'm loving.
It's surfer.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Nailed
What was
it.
the other one?
Oh, and Kuza, man.
And Kuza.
Turn it into a barrier, return it to HQ, then Kuza.
The Kuz.
Get
So
Kuz.
yeah,
That's-
surfer.
That's
If you
Netrunner for
have
1,000.
a really
Alec.
large server. You
Mhm.
turn the first thing into a barrier. You say cowabunga, and you ride that bad boy all the way down, paying 2 credits every time. And you steal the agenda in the remote, and you slap your friend because you pulled a stupid combo on them. It's
Yeah.
just good times. Good times. But yeah, I think it's a really fun card. I like that it's a fractor we're talking about that's not named Paperclip that people are interested in playing. So that's awesome.
It was said in chat, but I'll echo it. I think that they might kick themselves down the road for only making it 2 influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this, in a far-flung future, maybe is up for consideration for a restricted list, right? Like it has inversificator levels of potential power, and that card ended up on the list, right?
Could
So,
you use a Verificator? Am I dumb? No, you couldn't do that. Never mind.
no, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's, but to David's point, I think it's great that we are talking about different fractors. So, kudos.
To me, what's insane is like the bump, like to 6 strength, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't already efficient enough that it like you pay 2, you break all barrier subroutines, and like there's a lot of barriers in the game that have 2+ subroutines. It's already good enough to where you pay 2, a piece of ice per turn gains barrier. But then it's like pay 3 and like +6 strength. I'm like, okay, so it's an 8 strength barrier breaker. Like that's insane value. The potential value is insane.
Yeah. This is the barrier breaker that I would play probably the most. And like I said, 2 influence really opens it up for. I mean, look at that arm. Like this is such a cry for me to put this into my Atom deck.
It's flavor win.
Yeah. The hints are sometimes in plain sight. You just have to notice them. But like I think incredible value. Do it, Atom players.
Nice. Sweet. All right. Well, let's keep it rolling with another pretty sweet Shaper card. This is Gebra Selassie. It's a hardware mod, 1 cost, 4 influence. And you can spend a click to host it on an installed non-AI icebreaker. And that host icebreaker returns to its base strength at the end of each turn rather than each encounter. Whoa. So my mind immediately goes to stealth. That seems pretty nice to me. If you're running Switchblade or Refractor, you just slap this on there and you've got a 7 strength Switchblade for an entire turn when you pump it once.
You know what though is to interject, in the perfect world, if we could time warp back hardware mod, that also makes me think of personal touching lamb. Sorry, and now let's slide back to where we were, and we're back in regular time. Sorry,
you want to back?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I think for the right kind of deck, if you're in a deck that you are going to be pressuring the corp, multiple runs per turn, high efficiency, but are limited by economy in some way, whether that's stealth or you run light economically or whatever else, and you've got some really sweet breakers. This is a really attractive effect for the right kind of breakers. And I don't think it's, again, like a lot of these cards, I don't think they fit in every deck of their faction, but for the right deck, you really take a look at this and you go, okay, 1 of, 2 of in your stealth deck could be really nice. So I think it's a cool card. Plus the art gets a thumbs up from me. Very cool.
This is definitely, again, tie-in with some of the talk that I had off the last card. This definitely fits Shaper perfectly, and all of these little cards, Dinosaurs, Personal Touch, we're talking big breakers, we're talking expensive breakers that you're trying to boost up. Now you don't really need so much of those support cards if something can keep its strength for a longer period of time. And this card here in faction is very, very cheaply efficient, and I think that I think it plays very, very well into Shaper. I'm incredibly happy here. Again, a deck builder's wet dream. This is phenomenal for big breaker Shaper.
Yep. Big rigs.
Big rigs, man.
Yeah, this is a good card. I can't find my copy of it, but what this does is it actually allows stealth decks to reliably play indexing, which is a problem that stealth decks have, where they have to play, or they're more geared to play the deep data minings and the Maker's Eyes, because they can't reliably generate the stealth credits to boost. So what it actually does is it allows smoke decks. I'll have the Altar, so she's kind of hard to see. It allows smoke decks to keep their daggers and their refractors boosted for the whole run. So even if it's a small sentry, say it's like a Caduceus or something on R&D, that's 2 stealth credits that you got to use just to break that one piece of ice on dagger. You can't always afford that with your stealth. So being able to hold your strength for the whole turn allows you to index, and it allows a different path of scoring that you can take. So you can play Mad Dash and maybe turn a global food into 3 points. So it allows a totally different path that stealth can take, which is super interesting because it allows them to hold the stuff that's really hard for them to generate normally.
Yeah, or go start experimenting. Tinkering was kept around. We haven't really seen big strong pullings out of Kit very much, but so something like this, if you can use Kit's ability, and you have a very, very strong code gate pusher, and you just want to scoop right in through a whole bunch of stuff. There's definitely some old school synergy brewing here in Shaper. Love it. Love seeing this kind of stuff. A lot of back to basics, man. That's where it's going here.
Yep.
I would say it's important to mention, like, in the instances where you would actually use this, like you would use this card in stealth decks. Like, I feel like in general it's just an even shift of resources, right? Like in the end, stealth decks have always had this big issue, like you said, you have to use Ghost Runner, and then you have to use the cloaks, and then you gotta, it's just like, and then like piece after piece after piece after piece to make sure you have available stealth credits. It's so nice. Finally, stealth players, Dan Spinoza, shout out, to be to be able to say, you know what, guys, I'm gonna boost this stealth breaker once this turn. I'm good. We're gonna just chill here for a while. It's gonna stay here, and I'll come back to it next turn.
That's two people that owe us return shout outs now.
I mean, it is nice.
Good point.
I very much like this card, especially for people that love stealth decks, because, like you said, it gives it longevity, gives it extra sauce.
Very, very cheaply priced.
But like David's suggesting, you do have to be running at least twice a turn to, consider installing this thing. So it's got to be a playstyle difference. It's got to be, a willingness to get value out of this. But if you are doing that, then
yeah, and that's why I feel like Shaper could be in a really good spot to take that swing, because if you're building up that big breaker suite, like once you're set up, all you got to do is run.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Once your stealth board is built, what else are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Click for credit.
Sip your tea and steal agendas.
That's the second time you mentioned tea. Are you thirsty? Are you good?
I'm actually just super hyped, and I have the big British wedding on my mind for this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Canada cares about that.
Good one.
There you
I'll
go.
give you that. Hey.
Mr. Weeks.
You're only gonna get $7 out of your 8 now.
All right.
Hollis, where are you at on this? Are you talk us down from us? We've been loving on this card. Talk us down from the click to install, click to host, and then do the thing. Talk me down. I'm kind of high on this card right now. Bring us back to earth, but then sell us on this is a good card.
So then, okay, so I would say like one critique I could have is while this card could potentially provide a value, it may be the case that your existing card suite doesn't require you to get or even require you to have as many runs as this card allows. I mean, if you're going to be using deep data mining and what you care about is having a high amount of MU or any combination thereof, maybe you don't care about making multiple runs. You're just making sure that every individual run is just a really big one. And if that's the case, you don't need to run multiple times a turn. All you really care about is making sure you have ample resources to make the one run that you will make per turn. Now, the negative here now, adding to that, is just simply if your opponent is playing a remote game and you're trying to attack centrals, the limited resources available for playing a stealth deck means that you might not be able to make the run you want to on centrals and make the run you want to on a remote, especially considering that remotes may have Ash or any other combination of cards that in that run or stop you from getting in. So really, I think it's going to come down to, number one, some group of people or some person is going to decide in the grand scheme of like decks like this when it comes to stealth, because I feel like this card primarily lends itself to stealth. Some intelligent individual is going to make the determination, hey, I found it better to make the one big run, or I found it better to make multiple runs. And I feel like in either direction they go, it's going to come down to either A, how big the runs are that they make. Is that better than just period making more runs? And I don't have an answer for that. Like, I just don't. Mm-hmm. In a world where it's pretty clear that assets can become incredibly powerful, maybe another big benefit is just simply having available credits just to trash other cards. Like, that's a factor. Having available credits to trash other cards, because like the stealth breakers in the game pretty much use these stealth credits to boost strength. They don't really use them to break subroutines. So maybe it's more beneficial to say I boost strength once, and the available credit generation helps me trash other cards as opposed to boost the strength of this breaker again. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's a very difficult determination. The chat may think, or people may disagree, hey, it's probably better to run a card like this all the time. But really, that's what you mentioned, David, is an issue with the value. Like, the fact that to play, I pronounce the name again, Alec?
Gebra Selassie.
Gebra Selassie. Like, the fact remains is, like, you have to A, spend a credit, B, play the card, which is an action, and then C, spend another click to host the icebreaker on it. So you're losing clicks very early, and the question is, how many times are you going to make multiple runs with said breaker, and that generate a profit for you? I don't know. I don't have someone who plays stealth a lot will have an answer for that. As someone who doesn't play stealth a lot, I don't have that answer. I want to assume it's good, but anytime you place another card in your deck, that all your other cards are depending on that card to be useful, you generate a problem, right? What if all of these are in the bottom of the deck? Just random stuff. Well, now you've removed available card slots to give you the Ghost Runner credits or whatever you want to use to be able to generate stealth, because you're banking on this card being available to be able to make sure that strength is elevated consistently during a turn. Okay, so if you don't see this card, your deck just suffers. Like, that's a legit concern.
Yeah, I don't know. This feels like a nicety to me. It feels more like if you see it, cool. And if it's relevant in the matchup, cool. But not every court matchup is going to have this be a factor, right? You might run into a deck with this running, 1-2 pieces of ice at a time, and you're like, cool, whatever. And then you don't bother installing this. And at that point, then you do have to question, like, was this worthwhile as a card slot in my deck? So in some ways, I almost think this is some meta type considerations for stealth decks of like, oh, dang, Glacier's getting real good. I'm running into, 6, 7, 8 strength pieces of ice.
Right.
All of a sudden, this starts to look a lot better.
Let me ask you this to everybody: if let's assume you play a stealth deck, right? And this card, of course, is available to you. Is this a 3x card? Is this a 2x card? A 1x card? How many of these do you play in your deck?
What I'm doing. Something I just thought of another synergy that would be really good for it is if we're playing. Hang on. It's actually good if we're playing a notoriety deck. And we absolutely want to make 3 runs in a turn. Maybe we have our whole synergy built around the indexing Mad Dash and then score a notoriety to close the game out. That would be a really good way to use this. So you can make your big run and you can break the 2 pieces of ice and retain your strength the whole run. So you can use your stealth credits to break. So maybe it'll be good there. That's really all I have for it. If I'm playing a dedicated deck for it, I'm playing 2, and I'm building my deck as if I'm not going to draw it. But if I do draw it, then I just use the extra econ for something else.
It's also worth pointing out that it is unique. So running more than one does come with the risk that the other copy is truly dead.
Yeah. So there's a dedicated deck that will absolutely benefit from this card, but this isn't one you just, as a wise scholar once said, slam it and jam it.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Nice. Oh boy.
So
cool it with the slamming and jamming.
Slam it and jam it. I'm just like making the sickest references right now.
Slam it. All right. And jam it. Okay.
So there you go. Hopefully that gives some stealth playing players something to think about. Yep. Cool. Shall we round out our Shaper collection here?
Please.
All right. Compile is our next card. It's a run event, 2 cost, 3 influence. And it says make a run. First time you encounter a piece of ice during this run, you may search your stack or heap for a program and install it, ignoring all costs. When the run ends, add that program to the bottom of your stack if it's still installed.
This is an interesting piece of tech. Obviously, you're probably already hearing the comparisons to Test Run. I feel like the Test Run has more value than what this is bringing to the table because it's setting up easier. This is more like you have. This is to me. This card is just basically a silver bullet searcher. I have this silver bullet in my deck somewhere just in case this one weird situation comes, and then it does come, and you're like, and I bust. I'm in. That card is gone, and I don't need it anymore for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not going to say the piece of tech that goes along with this card because I'm sure someone else on this panel has that criminal card queued up. Yeah, this is the story.
Oh,
Actually,
I was
at in the?
I was thinking of an Anarch card.
I don't know where I'm at, like a Brady look around thing right now.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a criminal card queued up, I will be very surprised. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I think this card is great for that quick, like, I'm gonna keep the tempo moving along. But I'm not 100% sold on this card. I'm sure Shaper will find some weird way to utilize this. Maybe maybe not this cycle, maybe down the road. But I am not. I think I'd rather stick with a test run than a compile. I mean, unless you're still trying to cheat things in somehow. With the if you're just trying to do it cheaper and scavenging something and doing stuff, I don't know if you're going to be doing, compiling SMCs into something else, into whatever, if that's worth it. But very meh. This is the Super Troopers 2 card of the pack. It's not like it's Big Brother Super Troopers 1, but I still stay tried and true, core set strength, core set strong, test run it.
And I ultimately really feel like it exists because if in the event they plan on having more cards interact with the top of the stack, the issue that they would run into with test run is that if more cards interact with the top of the stack, and how test run works where it goes on top of the stack, it actually makes those cards, it limits, in their case, the design space to work with cards on top of that stack. Putting it on the bottom is a bit more interesting. You're going to be able to get the card immediately. You're going to search for it, install it, get the benefit out of it without actually paying the install cost, aka Femme Fatale. And then it goes to the bottom of the deck, making it a lot harder to get access to, which I think is the design intent. You're getting the card, you're needing that card you need right now, and then after that, it's much harder to get from that point going forward. Barring, I don't know, the card window or some stupid.
Don't say it yet. I'm sure he's got a key.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, like, it just seems so very, like, I don't know. Like, it's clear, in my opinion, putting it on the bottom of the stack is immediately, like, worse. Makes it immediately worse than test run. And even then, I think we were at the part of the game where I don't think test run was really that heavily used, right? Am I incorrect on that?
Right.
No, it isn't.
It's not so much.
So,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, worth noting, number one, before we even talk about any synergies, is that compile does not work with Femme Fatale.
Oh, does it not?
No, it does not. There was in our we have a league going on right now, and a guy built a deck using both of these, thinking that they work, but compile is when you encounter the ice, so you've already touched it, so you can't.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Don't use it.
That's even worse. That's
right.
even worse.
So hang on. We agreed with the Michael Jordan, LeBron James analogy earlier. We don't compare eras. Right?
I mean, yeah, we don't.
This one's obviously better.
But 6 rings. But
all right, fine. So yes, you put it on the bottom of your deck, but we just got a shaper that doesn't care where the program is. She can just go get it. So what does it matter? Right?
Man, test run still this era, man. It was saved, revised core.
Yeah, true.
It's like Jordan on the Wizards. He's still Jordan, right?
It's more like Kobe. Like he just retired.
He changed his number
just a couple years ago. So
God.
The synergy that I actually love with this is actually in Kit.
I'm listening.
So, all right, yeah. I'm not talking about grappling hook or window or bad cards. I'm talking about Kit playing Peregrine.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Oh no.
We're on board.
I thought you said we're not talking about bad cards.
I'm off board.
All right. So you play a kit, you have your magnum opus down, and you're just hitting credits. When it's time, when it's go time, you play compile. You go get your one of Peregrine. You break the piece of ice. You put Peregrine back into your hand. You derez a piece of ice. So you're controlling their board. You got this out. It's a 5-cost breaker. You got it out for free. You pop it back to your hand. You derez their ice. Now it's in your hand. Now you put it down in your London library and you go again. And you just do that over and over and over and over.
Oh my god.
It's too much. You're doing the most, David.
Now, there was a deck that was out last year where a guy played this and won either a store championship or won a regional with it. Maybe he came in second with the regional with the Peregrine kit deck. Compile is the missing piece to get the Peregrine out for free as often as you want. It's a bird deck, Alec. You should love it.
Bird deck.
Bird deck.
Damn.
So yeah, it's a kit card. It's a niche. We're gonna play a couple interesting cards like a grappling hook. We'll go get our grappling hooks in the pirate decks that are out right now.
Whoa.
Where you just go get your grappling hook and break everything. Then it's in your garbage, and you can play a compile later and get it back. Then you don't have to play clone ships. So it's really good there. So it's not test run because it's not going to get you the giant program and then you can scavenge it out for later. But it's a single use program or one of the birds where you can pop it back to your hand. Or it's like the Abigail and Damara and Lustig deck. Maybe you play those and you play a compile and you just bypass ice all day long because you can just constantly recycle them. I mean, I think it's actually better than test run. Maybe I'm just weird.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care about it going on the bottom of my deck because anything that I would play with this card is either going to go back to my hand or I'm going to trash. So it's always going to be where I can see it or get it.
Alec, did you have anything else to add on this one?
My only other suggestion was taking a look at David, the card, not the person. Don't look at him.
Don't.
Because that's kind of nice, too, out of Shaper, right? You have a one of David in your deck, and you're running against stuff that's pretty large pieces of ice. You can cheat out of David on the cheap, recur it back, do it again. Yeah, I think David the person is spot on here, right? This is the kind of card that you have a deck that you're either building around this or this already helps a very specific type of archetype with these one-shot or recurable, David, Lady, Grappling Hook kind of cards. And you already have enough other tech either in your ID or other cards to search it out of the bottom. So putting it on the bottom in most of these decks isn't really going to matter. And in fact, might save the program from being in your heap because now it's back in your deck. So yeah, I think it's kind of cool. I'm not a huge Shaper player, at least not at the moment. So it's hard for me to kind of envision the deck that this goes in, but I'm sure I'll run into it once or twice and be surprised. So I think it's kind of neat.
H, you said your piece. You're good, or
I'm good. I'm not convinced. I'm not sipping the sauce yet.
yeah,
we'll
man.
see.
All right, a home stretch in here.
Oh boy, Jameson, you want to take this one? I got a feeling maybe you're interested in the old Logic Bomb.
I will. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I'd like to thank the Academy. Logic Bomb is a zero-cost resource that is virtual. This is trash effect. Bypass a piece of ice you are currently encountering. Lose any remaining clicks. Could God create a stone so heavy he could not lift it? Yeah.
But could he though? Could he create the heavy? I don't know. Could he? I don't know.
What faction is this card?
Oh, this be the Atom one.
Oh, it's an Atom
Neutral?
card.
So this is obviously heavy on the influence.
Jeez, 5.
As in,
wow.
as in the other ones we've seen.
Yep. All right, so where does this fit on the scale between emergent creativity and consume? I just try to remember like what's the worst mini faction card. Where like it's changing the game for this mini faction, or it's like a nice, it's fine.
On the squared circle scale, this is Hulkamania, man.
There you go.
These Jameson is like in the Atom decks. Are we like, okay, so we're gonna have 3 emergency creativities, 3 magic bombs, and then I'll build the rest of my deck.
Yeah.
Is that how we're doing this now?
I would probably think that that's a good starting point. I mean, if you needed, if at the end, if you were struggling, you could cut down to 2, but I mean, I don't think you would want to. This is where Atom kind of needed to be. You were already, if you're playing his directives and you have everything set out and you're not love gooding and stuff, and you're, spending your first click to, do whatever you have to do, fill some criteria there, leaving you a couple other pieces. You knew that Atom's economy build was a little bit slower than what others decks could get up to. So you were really heavily on packing him up with some of those econ cards that were taking slots. This frees up space inside Atom to be able to add a little more creativity, a little more robustness. This is basically telling you that with Atom's already tools in his tool belt, plus this, Atom's getting in, and he's getting in for a lot less than he was before. I think that we saw this big bump in Atom that he's really come from behind, and this cycle has put him on the map where he is taking championships, winning tournaments, and with the release of Logic Bomb, that is not going to stop anytime soon. He got an incredible boost here. This could be probably, non-biased opinion, probably the strongest card in the pack.
Nice. It's really good. And it makes an already scary deck even scarier.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Like this card is so good. You could probably start thinking about it as a one of elsewhere. I think.
Wow.
Whoa.
I think that's something like, like you look that if you have this out there, it's a resource. You draw it, it installs for free. If you're not afraid of it getting destroyed, it can pretty much sit there until you actually need it. And it can, it can save your bacon on those last Hail Mary glory runs that you're really trying to get into, where you are, strapped for cash. As we're seeing this curve of ice and become meatier and thicker, you might not be able to, have the resources available to you to make that second run, to keep that pressure up. And this is going to be able to. This is what people save their credits for. Those last runs, those, those game-winning times when you're just gonna go in there and be like, I need to get in, and I need to get that. I need in one more time, and this could do it for you. So I mean, it's not going to be in everywhere, but I would probably consider looking at it. Again, like I said at the beginning, this pack is a deck builder's dream. Most people aren't going to be able to look at 5 influence and be able to fit it everywhere, but I think there's going to be some creative people that do good things with Logic Bomb.
Sweet.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
It's a really good card, and I don't think I'd be too crazy in saying that Adam is tier 1 now.
No,
My boy.
That, you know, Jameson has been screaming at us for months now that Adam's good, and we're just gonna say that Adam's good only now. Or
solidified it.
He got 2 cards this cycle, and in 2 cards, he went from being low tier to top tier. It's like they just patched the game completely, and all of a sudden, all of his moves do way more damage when they hit. It's ridiculous. Logic Bomb is the best card in this pack on the runner side for sure. It's ridiculous. What it does to the faction is it actually does a really cool thing where, like, Adam decks are like, you got to choose 3 directors at the beginning, and everybody chooses the exact same 3 every time because nobody wants to play Always Be Running. Logic Bomb lets you play Always Be Running and build a deck around it and just play a whole bunch of run events, because you might lose your whole turn to just doing a run because you have to break something, but then you can Logic Bomb and you can guarantee access. You're getting in. You're gonna get your access. If they build a remote, they have to put in 2 pieces of ice. If you put in something like spearfishing or inside job, I found spearfishing before I found inside job. If you put in one of those, you can just break a 2-run server for 2 credits. I mean, it's ridiculous. And he just gets to do that, like, all the time. So it's cool because you can lean in all the way to the bypass stuff and just bypass everything and break, and just not have to break anything. Or you can just use it on top of the great foundation he already has with all of the interesting breakers he can play and synergies, and just be like, okay, I got this awesome rig, but I'm kind of midway in money. I just won't spend money to break this giant piece of ice this turn. You do, I think, still have to encounter the ice. So things like Data Raven and Toll Booth are still going to hit, because you have to actually hit when you encounter it. I'm not exactly sure of the timing. I think because it's going to happen at the same time, you get to choose. But I think it works like Compile does. Someone rules check me on that. You could go Breakerless Atom and play something like 2 deep data minings and just never have to break anything and just get giant accesses. You can already access a bunch of cards from HQ for free.
Yeah, like,
so play something like that.
I just checked up the Vegas odds right now, and Adam is paying 5-1 to win Worlds this year now with the release of this card.
Man, I think I know where I'm going to put my $8.
Let it ride, brother.
You better slide your underway grids now, because you're not going to see all this bypass coming.
Yeah, it's like I'm like super crazy excited that the many factions actually matter now, because I felt like for a long time the many factions were printed and it's like, okay, cool, but this is like, we have all this advanced tech and all this amazing things. And yeah, you printed some really cool guys with spears. Like, okay, cool, he's got a spear, that's pretty awesome, but all these guys got rocket launchers, So the fact that he can hang with the top runners now is just incredibly exciting to me.
And really, really no joke. I echo everything you said, David, that I believe he's fully broken into tier 1. I think that he has enough pieces and enough ammunition that he is a viable threat. I would not be going to any kind of heavy tournament right now, with who knows what will happen or what else is released when Worlds comes around. But these bigger tournaments that will be hosted at Gen Con, like nationals, regionals are coming. People would used to smile if they saw someone playing Adam and think that it's going to be here's a novelty win that I'm going to get. But he's bringing the heat now, and these mini factions like Adam is a whole different style of runner that you have to now be prepared to counter. Before you really had to look at, I'm going to be able to play against dominant Anarch, I'm going to be able to play against the trickery of Shaper, but now the pressure that Adam is really bringing to the table is something that you're going to have to think about how you're going to counter that stuff. He has potential to not show up more, but also to win. I do believe it.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
I'm just gonna chime in and just say real quick, this card is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Just make sure. Want to make sure no one missed the language here. If you're listening with YouTube open and you're not looking at the card, the text says, "Trash it. 0 cost resource. Trash it. Bypass a piece of ice you are currently encountering. Lose any remaining clicks." I mean, so if anyone's thinking, "Oh, but I lose all my clicks," no, this card is saying, "Run click 4, baby. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Why are you scared? Are you scared you're gonna hit something that trashes the program? Guess what? Just bypass it. What are you scared of? The thing that you should be scared of, you're skipping over it. It doesn't exist. You literally hit the backspace button enough times that whatever's in front of you is deleted. It's gone. It's not gone. It's still there. But you're skipping over it. Okay. I that's awesome to me. I'm so happy though. Holy crap! That this card is 5 influence. Yeah. Luckily, thank goodness they had the insight to go 0 cost and I can bypass anything. Yeah, that should be a 5 influence card. And I'm with David, and I'm with Jameson, and I'm with Alec. This is probably, if Adam wasn't already kind of middle of the way tier to getting upper, I feel like this being in his toolkit is a definite. You can have 3 of this. Oh, you're high tier. You have to be.
Especially comboing with always be running and the ability to just break those subroutines. So I mean, essentially, you don't have to run last click. You just have to have no clicks left.
It's disgusting, bro. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Seems good. All right. Shall we round out our delicious full course meal with a little bit of dessert?
Yeah.
Little sweet treat at the end. Reward you for your fine investment in your mini faction of choice. It's Jackpot.
Dance with the devil in the
Ho ho. It's a resource, 0 cost, 0 influence. And it says, when your turn begins, you may place 1 credit on Jackpot. And whenever an agenda is added to your score area, you may take any number of credits from Jackpot. If you do, trash Jackpot. And the flavor text is Jackpot.
Jackpot.
Wow. This is some straight Pulp Fiction art, too. That's great.
Oh, nice. I didn't notice that. Yeah. I see it now. Yeah.
All right. So Jackpot. You can make some money. You can make some credits.
So, are there any important rulings on this, Alex, before we cover it? Because because the wording on this is very particular.
It is. Yeah. I think the thing to keep in mind is that anything that's added to your score area as a runner, even though it's not conventionally an agenda card, such as Notoriety or Fan Site or Director Haas or Chairman Hero, that action of them being added to your score area and considered to be agendas when they do so does trigger this ability. So
even if you film critic it over?
I believe it also works around Film Critic. Yes, because your Film Critic is saying you're adding it to your score area, right? So,
oh, sweet jackpot!
Jackpot, yeah. So yeah, I think if you're already running those types of cards, particularly, I really like Fansite with this. If you're already running Fansite and you know you're going to have multiple opportunities to trigger that throughout the game, then Jackpot starts to look a little better, right? Starts to look okay. Outside of that, though, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. I don't think it's just a nice little econ option if you're, not having a lot of econ opportunities elsewhere. Maybe you look at this card and you go, maybe it'll pay off a little, or maybe it won't pay off anything at all. So that's the, that's the card.
Yeah. On the Lion King scale, this is definitely the Timon and Pumbaa of the pack. This is going to be a good sidekick if you're controlling the narrative. I really think that to get the payoff here, everything that Alec touched on is 100%. You have to have cards in your deck that you're able to have more control over when you are hitting that jackpot. If you are putting this in and you think you're just going to let it build up because you're going to be able to hit agendas, and you're like, oh, whenever I hit an agenda, I'm just going to get a payout. Well, then you're really banking on too much randomness of when that's going to happen. Put this down, then when your turn begins, you put a credit on it, you run. That's probably when you're going to get the agenda, right? So it's there's no there's no control over it. I mean, you have control because it says you may take any number of credits. But the problem with that is I feel that you're going to be second guessing yourself now. You're like, ooh, I just, I have, I have 3 on it now. Do I really need it? Maybe I'll wait and see, if I get it later on. But, then at that point, realistically, there's no real reason why you shouldn't just take it every time it hits, right? No matter what it is.
It depends on their agenda suite, I guess. Maybe if you're running against like PE or Argus, you might think, ooh, they're running a lot of small agendas, so maybe I'll get something more later. But here's the thing. Here's my biggest problem with this card, now that I think about it.
But before you transition off, I was just saying there's no real reason to use it as a sealed vault kind of thing where your credits are safe, right? Because we're not being siphon spammed or things. So I don't have to protect my credits in this offshore jackpot account. So as long as you're hitting agendas where it says you may take any number, you might as well be taking them off, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. My major problem with that game plan, though, is if you're not triggering this on your own terms, this does absolutely nothing to score you that agenda. It is not the economy that gets you in. It's your reward for doing the thing that you're already needing to do. And yes, it gets you back out of the red if you go super deep to score an agenda. This might get you back competitive economically, but that's after the fact. So how you getting in the first place? And this card starts to look a lot worse. Now, if it's a fan site that you're running that triggers this, great, because fan site triggering meant that the corp just scored, and now this gives you the ability to hit back if the fan site was the trigger. But outside of that, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's not good. If this is the dessert to the main course, then this is like 5-year-old licorice
Yeah, man. Licorice all sorts right here. Let's get that British tie in again.
So, like Alex said, you know, if you're playing this and you really want to be serious about it, you're playing it in a Haley deck. Because you already got your fan sites, and I couldn't find it, but you're playing your Shadow Nets, and you're doing things that you're going to be adding a lot of agendas to your score area, and you want a little build up in it. So some things that I've seen it compared to is they're comparing Jackpot to Armitage code besting.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
You're kind of getting the same thing out of it. You're guaranteed to get the Armitage code besting thing out, where this is just going to tick up. I think the best comparison is actually to a card that you probably forgot existed, and no one plays for that, which is probably why you forgot it existed. Jackpot is literally just Zona Zol shipping.
Oh boy.
And neutral. That's literally all it is. But Zona Zol shipping is actually better because you can control when you get these credits. They both build credits at the exact same rate, even though this one costs 2. But you can career fair this one or whatever. But you can control when you get these credits. You can't always control when you're going to get the Jackpot credits. If you want to completely lean into Jackpot and you're going to go with the Haley control deck where you're using fan sites and stuff, then sure, Jackpot's a totally fine option. But if you're probably going to be better off doing other things. Like
you also have to draw this early enough that it's relevant, right?
Yeah.
If the game is like 4-4 and you top deck this card, you're like, well, shoot. What am I gonna get out of this? Like, nothing. I don't think it's worth a click at that point.
No, it's not great. So it's even worse. Where it's like one of those things when you're like evaluating bad cards, is that you're like, okay, well, for this to work, I have to play 3 of them. So like, whoa, hang on a minute. So we already established we're not gonna get a great benefit. But in order to get the benefit, I have to play 3 of them. And even if I do get it early enough, how much money am I actually going to get? Am I going to get like 6 credits off it? Okay, that's fine. But that was, it is only one click to put down. So that's not. So I mean, you have like no. It's like no investment. It's like zero-sum investment. But the payout on the back end for doing that, where I could play like an Armitage or any other thing, is just, to me, is absolutely not worth it.
I'm not touching Jackpot. You got.
I'd rather play the push your luck game than the Jackpot game. I'm telling you now.
That says a lot.
Because at least I'm making money. Maybe.
I mean, I like trying to make cards work, but when it comes to economy cards, I know
you can't.
I want my money when I want my money. I don't want to wait until something that I can't control happens.
I think that the best summary is we've all listed the amount of support that you need to put into your deck to make this work. And also including how many copies you need to see it early enough to start getting benefit out of it is a no-brainer on a slash. If you have to put 5-6 cards into a deck to make one type of card work, nah, come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One type of card with such a low payout that you could be running so many other amazing options.
Like you might gain 8 credits, or 2, or 4.
Instead of the exclamation point, it should be an ellipsis, like Jackpot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's cool that it's a resource that costs 0, but like, you still spend a click. Like, what's a click worth? Would you agree a click is worth at least 2 credits? At least minimal 2 credits.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be worth more, right?
Yeah.
So in order for this to really be beneficial as a resource, now granted it is not unique, but for this to be really worth it, in my opinion, the credit amount for me to be like, okay, I'm going to include this in my deck would be, I'm going to be able to gain 4 credits plus sign off of this. And I'm like, okay, and even if that was the case, what? Like the condition for me to gain just 4 not great. And if I gain 8, I guess that's cool. But again, still, it's whenever an agenda is added to my square area. So I would have to be actively trying to win the game. Meanwhile, this is taking up credits. Like you said, this has not even contributed to me trying to win the game yet. I have to win the game first, and then this gets me a benefit. What is happening?
Yeah. The art for this card should have been like the other side of the like the slot machine or whatever it is, and it should have just been like cherry lemon, you know, like
cherry bar.
Yeah.
Cherry lemon.
You know, totally missed opportunity.
There you go.
Is this where we say our thanks?
Yeah, it kind of sucks that was the last card because like,
yeah,
Logic Bomb was so cool, and then they printed that card, and it kind of like,
wow,
we peaked, and then we hit the bubble.
Strategic.
Whoa, here we go, it's going up.
Strategic pack planning. As you're flipping through new releases. Thank you very much for everybody who tunes in and watches us. Thanks, David, again for joining us, pulling out the magic hidden combo cards that you have so graciously put the effort in to do. Alec and Hollis, always a pleasure. Appreciate it if you guys are liking and subscribing. And adding comments, your own wacky combos down below. This is the Deck Builders Pack. What do you come up with? We'd love to hear from you if you cannot make it live. Awesome. You guys, any thoughts, closing remarks?
The pack had a lot of really cool cards that are usable, I think, and a lot of niche cards that I think will lend themselves well to like the 1x or the 2x within certain decks.
Yeah, just a general Netrunner comment. I mean, the game has so many interesting, cool things you can do. You know, whenever a new card comes out, you know, open your box up and see what you actually have in there, and you know, flip through your cards because you might find something super interesting and really cool that you can bring to the table that will help advance everybody. It could be anybody that finds a small little interesting combo or interesting card interaction that everybody could benefit from. So don't just stick with the same old and just plug in and just trying to plug and play everything, because sometimes you have to do a whole new strategy, and they're really not that hard to find if you just like mess around with them a little bit. So yeah, but this is a really fun pack, except for Jackpot
and Slipstream. But well.
Yeah, you're right.
No. Yeah, well, I agree, and I'm looking forward to rounding it out next week.
Hollis, anything from you?
I have no real talk for this week, surprisingly enough. Zero real talk. I feel like this pack is just good. That's it.
Easy.
All right.
Yeah. I hit my mic. Okay.
Ending. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Good night, all.
Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.